Welcome to Realms Revealed. Today, we are going to explore one of the most iconic and memorable features of the Lord of the Rings, the inscription on the One Ring. What does it say and what does it mean? Why did Sauron choose to write it and how did he do it? How does it affect the story and the characters of the Lord of the Rings? And what does it reveal about the world of Middle-earth? Let's find out. The One Ring is the most powerful and evil artifact in Middle-earth, created by the Dark Lord Sauron in the fires of Mount Doom during the Second Age. It is a plain gold ring with no visible markings, but when heated by fire, it reveals an inscription in the Black Speech of Mordor, a language devised by Sauron himself. The Black Speech is one of the fictional languages that J.R.R. Tolkien invented for his legendarium, where it was spoken in the evil realm of Mordor. According to Tolkien, Sauron created the Black Speech as a constructed language to be the sole language of all his servants, and he tried to impose it on all the lands he dominated. However, he was only partially successful, as the language soon developed into many dialects among the orcs and other creatures, and most of them preferred to use a corrupted form of Westron, the common tongue of Middle-earth. Unlike the elves, who had a rich and ancient linguistic heritage, and who created many beautiful and poetic languages, Sauron had no interest in the art and beauty of language, and he created the Black Speech only for practical and sinister purposes. The Black Speech had no literature, no poetry, no songs, no history, no myths, no proverbs, no idioms, no metaphors, no similes, no expressions of love or friendship, no words for beauty or joy or hope or peace. It was a language of war, of hate, of fear, of darkness, of evil. It was a language that suited Sauron and his servants, but that no one else would want to speak or hear. The inscription reads, Ashnazg Durbatuluk, Ashnazg Gimbatul, Ashnazg Thrakatuluk Ak Burzum Ishi Krimpatul. This translates to one ring to rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them. This is also known as the Ring Verse, and it is part of a longer poem that describes the history and fate of the Rings of Power. The other 19 rings that were forged by the elves with Sauron's assistance, but secretly corrupted by him. The poem goes like this: 3 rings for the elven kings under the sky, 7 for the dwarf lords in their halls of stone, 9 for mortal men doomed to die, 1 for the Dark Lord on his dark throne, in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie, 1 ring to rule them all, 1 ring to find them, 1 ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them, in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie. So why did Sauron put this inscription on the One Ring? What was his intention, and what effect did it have? There are several possible explanations, and we will explore them one by one. The first explanation is that the inscription is a spell that enhances the power and influence of the One Ring. By writing the words in the Black Speech, Sauron imbued the ring with his own will and essence, making it an extension of himself. The words also reflect his ambition and desire to dominate all the other rings and their bearers, and to bring the whole world under his control. The inscription is not just a statement, but a command, a curse, and a prophecy. It is a way for Sauron to assert his authority and to bind the fate of the ring to his own. The inscription also acts as a trigger that activates the ring's abilities, such as invisibility, longevity, and corruption. When the ring is heated by fire, the inscription becomes visible and audible, and the ring's power is awakened. The inscription also serves as a signal that alerts Sauron to the presence and location of the ring, and allows him to communicate with the ring-bearer through visions and whispers. He also wanted to intimidate anyone who would dare to oppose him or challenge his claim to the ring. The inscription was a way of saying, "This is mine, and you cannot have it. I am the master, and you are the servants. You cannot escape me, and you cannot resist me." The second explanation is that the inscription is a mark that identifies the One Ring as Sauron's property and warns others of its danger. By writing his name and his purpose on the ring, Sauron claimed ownership and responsibility for it, and made it clear that no one else could use it without his permission or knowledge. The inscription also acts as a deterrent and a threat to anyone who would dare to challenge or oppose him. The words are written in the Black Speech, a language that is hated and feared by most of the free peoples of Middle-earth, and that causes pain and discomfort to those who hear or speak it. The inscription is not just a label, but a warning, a challenge, and a taunt. It is a way for Sauron to intimidate and mock his enemies and assert his superiority and confidence. The third explanation is that the inscription is a flaw that exposes the One Ring's weakness and vulnerability. By writing his name and his purpose on the ring, Sauron also revealed his arrogance and folly and made it possible for others to discover and exploit his secret. The inscription also acts as a clue and a hint to anyone who would seek to destroy or resist him. The words are written in the Black Speech, a language that is rare and obscure, but not impossible to decipher or translate. The inscription is not just a boast, but a riddle, a puzzle, and a clue. It is a way for Sauron to unwittingly provide his enemies with the information and the motivation they need to find and destroy the ring, and to end his reign of terror. The third explanation is that the inscription is a flaw that exposes the One Ring's weakness and vulnerability. By writing his name and his purpose on the ring, Sauron also revealed his arrogance and folly and made it possible for others to discover and exploit his secret. The inscription also acts as a clue and a hint to anyone who would seek to destroy or resist him. The words are written in the Black Speech, a language that is rare and obscure, but not impossible to decipher or translate. The inscription is not just a boast, but a riddle, a puzzle, and a clue. It is a way for Sauron to unwittingly provide his enemies with the information and the motivation they need to find and destroy the ring, and to end his reign of terror. Another interesting aspect of the inscription on the One Ring is the symbolism and the meaning of the words and the letters that compose it. The inscription is written in the Tengwar script, a writing system invented by the elves but adapted by Sauron for his own purposes. The Tengwar script consists of various symbols that represent different sounds and values, and that can be arranged in different ways to form words and sentences. The inscription on the One Ring uses a special mode of Tengwar known as the Black Mode, which is unique to the Black Speech and has some distinctive features. For example, the Black Mode uses dots instead of tetar to indicate vowels, and it uses a reversed direction of writing from right to left instead of the usual left to right. The Black Mode also has some hidden meanings and connections to the lore and the history of the Lord of the Rings. For instance, the first letter of the inscription, which corresponds to the sound A, is also the symbol of the Eye of Sauron, the emblem of his power and his presence. The last letter of the inscription, which corresponds to the sound L, is also the symbol of the Flame of Anor, the source of the power of Gandalf and the other wizards, and the enemy of Sauron. The inscription on the One Ring, therefore, is not just a collection of random letters, but a carefully crafted and designed expression of Sauron's identity and his opposition to the forces of good. Now that we have examined the symbolism and the meaning of the inscription on the One Ring, let us consider the impact and the significance of the inscription on the story and the characters of the Lord of the Rings, and see how it affects both Sauron and the ring-bearers in different ways. One more aspect of the inscription on the One Ring that we can explore is the impact and significance of the words and the letters that compose it. The inscription is not just a passive and static feature of the ring, but an active and dynamic force that shapes and influences the events and the characters of the Lord of the Rings. The inscription is the key to the identity and the power of the One Ring, and it affects both its maker and its users in different ways. For Sauron, the inscription is a way to express and enhance his will and his essence, and to control and corrupt the other rings and their bearers. For the ring bearers, the inscription is a way to attract and tempt them, and to manipulate and deceive them. By reading or hearing the words, they also connect themselves to the ring and make it an irresistible object of their desire. With the ring, they are empowered and seduced, but they also lose their freedom and their identity, and they become slaves to Sauron's will. The inscription on the One Ring, therefore, is not just a decoration or a detail, but a catalyst and a determinant of the fate and the destiny of the ring and its users. It is a source of conflict and drama. It is a challenge to the values and the virtues of the free peoples of Middle-earth, but also an opportunity for their redemption and their triumph. The final aspect of the inscription on the One Ring that we can explore is the contrast and the comparison of the words and the letters that compose it with the words and the letters that are used by the other characters and cultures of the Lord of the Rings. The inscription is not just an isolated and unique feature of the ring, but a part of a larger and richer linguistic and literary landscape that reflects and influences the diversity and the complexity of the world of Middle-earth. The inscription is the expression of the Black Speech, which is a harsh and ugly language, full of guttural and hissing sounds and devoid of beauty and grace. It is a language that is hated and feared by most of the free peoples of Middle-earth. It is a language that is meant to dominate and destroy, and not to communicate and create. The inscription on the One Ring, therefore, is a contrast and a challenge to the other languages and scripts that are used by the other characters and cultures of the Lord of the Rings, and that represent their values and their virtues. Other magical inscriptions can have different features, such as being written in ancient or mythical languages, such as the runes on the doors of Durin are written in Sindarin, an Elvish language, and the glyphs on the sword of Shannara are written in Druidic, a secret language of the Druids, being written in unique or artistic scripts, as the runes on the cover of the Book of Three are written in Ogham, a Celtic alphabet, and the glyphs on the sword of Shannara are written in a stylized form of Latin, or being visible or invisible depending on the context or the reader. Like the runes on the doors of Durin are only visible when the moon shines on them, and the glyphs on the sword of Shannara are only visible to those who have the gift of magic. The Elvish languages are also written in the Tengwar script, which is the same script that is used for the inscription on the One Ring, but in a different and more refined mode. The Tengwar script is a versatile and sophisticated writing system that can be adapted to different languages and sounds, and that can express different meanings and values. The Tengwar script is also a beautiful and artistic writing system that can be used to create elegant and intricate designs and patterns, and that can enhance the aesthetic and the poetic qualities of the texts. The Tengwar script, therefore, is a comparison and a connection between the inscription on the One Ring and the other texts and writings that are used by the other characters and cultures of the Lord of the Rings, and that reflect their diversity and their complexity. The inscription on the One Ring, therefore, is not just a simple and straightforward feature of the ring, but a complex and multifaceted element of the story and the world of the Lord of the Rings. It is a symbol and a manifestation of Sauron's power and evil, but also of his weakness and vulnerability. It is a testament and a tribute to the genius and the madness of the author, J.R.R. Tolkien, who created and crafted this amazing and unforgettable feature of his masterpiece, The Lord of the Rings. These are the main explanations for why Sauron put an inscription on the One Ring. Of course, there may be other reasons that we don't know or understand, as Sauron's mind is dark and complex, and his motives are mysterious and inscrutable. But one thing is certain. The inscription on the One Ring is one of the most iconic and memorable features of the Lord of the Rings, and one of the most important and influential elements of the story. It is a symbol of Sauron's power and evil, but also of his downfall and defeat. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment below. What do you think of the inscription on the One Ring? Do you have any other questions or topics that you would like us to cover in the future? Let us know in the comments section. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to get notified of our latest videos. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the realms revealed.